You may agree that at some point you realized that your life wanted to be simpler instead of becoming ever more complex. So how can meditation help you do exactly this by simplifying the practice itself? In this video, I want to emphasize that particular point. How can meditation become simpler and simpler, and how that transfers to your life? Where the opposite is actually true. If you realize that in your meditation, there's this great difficulty to sit and be quiet and be at peace with yourself, then you can see that in your life as well. Because meditation is really the microcosm of the macrocosm that we call life. So when we begin to sit, and at this point I would say if you don't have a disciplined meditation practice yet, there are 3 videos that I always have here in the description that can help you establish at least a 5 minutes. Everybody that wants to meditate can find 5 minutes. Get those 5 minutes, and then you can build it up to 10, 15, or even more minutes after overcoming 3 hindrances that I talk about in those videos. Go at them. They're here on YouTube. Now, if you establish your meditation practice, you'll realize that there is a level of difficulty, something that keeps you from staying in meditation, or maybe gauging your meditation, or moving in the improvement scale of meditation. Whatever it is, there is still some sort of complexity to simply sitting. And we want this practice to become as simple as possible so that it actually becomes effortless. That's the point. We don't want to continue to do meditation. We want to be meditation. In fact, we're realizing that we are meditation itself. But as long as this is seen as a practice, and I'll tell you something, some people get this and say, oh, so I realize already that I am meditation, so I don't need to sit. That is already a way to create complexity around meditation, believe it or not. Our practice always requires that we sit with ourselves and allow the mind to unfold. Anything other than that, there's just a little pride that is still there. We all have it. It builds in us by saying, I already know what meditation is. I don't need to sit with myself. Who said that? It's a good question. So the more you see this, the more you realize that there are things that have created meditation as a thing. Meditation is not a thing. And the more we realize this, the more we let go of all those patterns, which is really what's present. Patterns that say, I know what meditation is, so this is not meditation, I'm failing at it. Or, I know what meditation is, I don't need that. You see what's the common factor here? Somebody who knows and therefore judges. That's all that's happening in both sides of the spectrum. The one that doesn't know how to meditate and therefore he gives up and he never has a disciplined practice, right? I know what meditation is, and what I do is not meditation, so I fail all the time. And on the other side, right, the arrogance, the little arrogance that builds in us and says, I already know what meditation is, so I don't even have to sit in meditation. That's also a self that pronounces itself by saying, I already know, I don't need it. So the more we see this, the more we can alleviate just that thought. That one thought, once it's alleviated, suddenly we sink down into this peaceful, not knowing, childish curiosity, as I always say, that is the process of allowing the mind to unfold. That's it. There's nothing extra added to this. There's just sitting with yourself as you are, and then having no expectations of it. But it seems like that's a journey, right? It's something that you build up over time. My point here is for you to realize that no, you're not building anything. If anything, you're simplifying what is present in meditation as an expectation or as an idea, as a concept. If you continuously let go of this, mental activity is not a problem. You can have all the thinking in the world. You can have everything in your sitting, emotions, feelings, pain, discomfort, external noise, all of this can be present and it doesn't bother you because meditation has been simplified from being a thing, requiring things, comparing to, somebody doing it, getting it, improving, knowing it already or not knowing it, never being able to, failing, and so on. All of these are the unnecessary layers that have been created somehow by the poor little one that never learns, or the one that already learned it and is an expert. Which some people, actually, very few, but it does happen. And that's when that little arrogance builds up to pride. We don't know anything about meditation. All we know is that we are, and we sit with that. No effort required. So to simplify your meditation practice, you don't have to do more things. You just have to realize all those things that are there unnecessarily. The more you realize them, you let go of them, peace seems to become clearer, greater, more present. The more you feel at peace with what is. One other thing, in your meditation practice, if you feel that you have to do meditation to improve yourself, to become better, see how that feels. I have to meditate because it is good for me. See how that feels. I have to meditate because it's good for me. In fact, take a couple of seconds and let that sink and see how your body and your mind react to that statement. I have to meditate every day because it is good for me. If you feel a little bit of a rebellion, quite so. That's entirely right. Good intelligence. You don't have to meditate every day because it's good for you. Instead, you should love meditating because you can't live without it. Let that sink also for a couple of seconds. I love meditation because I can't live without it. That relationship is so different from having to meditate. How can you become more disciplined if not through love itself? If you don't love meditation, it becomes a thing. Something to plunder, something to do, something to improve, right? I've talked about how that relationship should be just like, and I like to use the example of the child, how you treat your child. If you had one, let's say you don't, how would you treat them? Have something that you have to love so you can plunder something out of it, you can take advantage of, derive from benefit from it? You would never say that. You want to love your child because there's no alternative. You can't live without that love. That's the true relationship in meditation. But to reach that, you need to have simplicity, no expectations, no intentions, just like with your child. Would you have intentions with your child? Or would you want them to see, or you want to see them be as they are? Of course, just like with your mind. That's the healthy approach. That's the loving approach. And the big quality there is that things are removed. Expectations, intentions, prior knowledge. I already know who you are, right? You never say that to your child. At least I hope you don't. You don't know them. You're getting to know them every single day, just like your mind. So simplifying your practice means that. The big question that I'll ask you now is, don't you think that this would transfer to how you relate to the world? Of course, because how you relate to yourself is how you relate to the world. And if you simplify how you are, life becomes simpler. Nothing needs to change, but our relationship with it changes. There is no expectations, no intentions, no failure, no pride, nothing to gain, everything to experience and be satisfied with the day. Your life becomes simpler because your internal relationship with yourself changes and it's simpler. So meditation is not about adding more things, it's about reducing what is present until the point that it becomes effortless. That's our practice. That's what we do. Now again, I'll remind you, if you don't have a meditation practice, I made those 3 videos for that same purpose. If you do have your practice, or when you do, and if you want to continue to deepen your practice, there's a free community in Skool where you can join by, again, following the links in the description where you can deepen your practice with us and become part of the community. That's all I got for today. I hope you have a wonderful and peaceful day, and I'll see you in the next video.